how do you get result at the same time you have the launch? That's where the conversation goes from OKR to MVP. It's like, team, figure it out.
And there is a big difference between strategy and OKRs. Strategy is how you get to somewhere. So you need first to define where you want to get, then you define the strategy, then you use OKRs to help you uh, execute the strategy or understand the strategy or design the steps you're going to give in order to get to the place you want to be. Hello, we are here in the Product Chronicles, the Brazilian way, and today we have here me, Joca,
I'm Fabio.
And I'm Paulo Carolli.
and we decided to talk today about a very interesting topic. In some companies that I went to talk to advise, they even say this is some sort of a bad word. They don't want to talk about it anymore. But the word is OKRs. So I learned through my career, and probably Fabio and Paulo also learned that as well, that there are many misconceptions on the usage of OKRs. So let's start with Paulo. What is the biggest misconception that you've seen using
In
OKRs?
OKR, well, OKR, objectives and key results. Super simple, right? Oh, objectives. What are objectives? Where do you want to get to? Key results. How do you know we want to get there? The first misconception is it is wide open, so anyone can use as they wish. So that's the first problem. That's why people complain about it. For me, well, it's difficult because you ask for one. I have two. The first one, objectives and key results, that's important in all levels of the organization. So many of us look at this from the very strategic, C-level of the organization, super important. But many teams or groups of people going towards a common objective gotta handle it on the tactical level, and then use the same style of OKR for the very strategic level and for the very technical level. Those are different, two different styles. Well, I'll tell only one. So for me, that's the first misconception. Use the same hammer in different levels of the organization that need different tools or different usage of the same tool.
And you, Fab?
I would say that it's a common misconception that the OKR needs to be, especially the key result part of it, that it needs to be super accurate. That you have to know if you're going to grow 12% or 13.4%. And people take a long time calculating those. And that time is often just lost because nobody knows for sure, and OKR wasn't really designed for that. We can go deeper into that discussion if it's interesting.
Yeah, sure is, sure is. And in my view, one of the major misconceptions that I've seen, some clients that I went to advise, they come to me and they present the OKRs to me and they say, oh, this is our strategy. And there is a big difference between strategy and OKRs. Strategy is how you get to somewhere. So you need first to define where you want to get, then you define the strategy, then you use OKRs to help you uh, execute the strategy or understand the strategy or design the steps you're going to give in order to get to the place you want to be. So that's the biggest one. Um, Other than that, we had recently in a product tank here in Brazil, São Paulo, actually, and we discussed a lot about OKRs. Who is normally the best person or team or people to define what are the OKRs?
Well, only difficult questions here. Uh, as an organization, I'll think here, we are in a medium to large organization. For sure, director level, C level, we got to be very clear. You already touched this point, right? What is the strategy? When I think about strategy, what is the strategy for the upcoming year, a longer period of time? And then key results, Fabio already touched this. If you're going to have key results, we got to be clear about the metric. Otherwise, you don't know if you're getting there or not. those people, they need to define the OKR. They need to define the common direction they want the whole organization to go to pursue the results. But they're not the ones executing it. That's where we talk about the two levels in OKR. That's this strategic OKR, whatever you want to call it, good. But you also need the people executing on it. They need to define their OKR. And that's when we start talking about tactical OKR and strategic OKR. Or one thing I changed a little bit, I call this team OKR because there is a team behind it. Even my book, I put this on the title because some other books talk about strategic, tactical, operational level, and sometimes the distinction is not that clear, especially in our digital world. For me, like if there is a team, what is the team OKR? Usually that's the tactical level.
Nice, nice. And you, Fabio?
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm just going to complete the rationale, just highlighting that there is this weird conflict that's actually non-existent that people think that it exists, like between should the OKRs be defined by leadership and should the OKRs be defined by team. So they usually say, is it top down or is it bottom up? And what I understood working in several places, it's always both, and it's the best way to do it, which is you need leadership to tell the teams where the company is going. So that's strategy. That's what we're talking about, and it needs to be very clear. And sometimes I saw leaderships that would not do a great job communicating the strategy to their teams. So they would leave everything open. Oh, what do you think you should do? And the guys would do a weird bottom-up objective that had nothing to do with anything, and that would frustrate the leadership. And they would just say, "Oh, so OKRs they don't really work." So I would say that first thing is always have the strategy. You have to tell your team, okay, here's what we're trying to do to accomplish, and each team in their own capacity, they should be the ones coming up with their own objectives that would help the overall strategy, because and that's the bottom up part, because usually what I see also is that kind of micromanagement, if you will, that the leadership will tell every single squad in the company which numbers they should be moving, or which stories in their backlog should be done. And now they're really deciding on the more operational level, and maybe the team they have better ideas, or maybe the team can see other things that could be more effective, just because we should assume that the team is more informed about the clients out there than leadership is, which is the way it should be on healthy product teams.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I also like the team defining the OKRs, having a bigger context of vision and strategy. That's the way to go. One other thing that I've seen also a few times is key R's that are more like tasks than actually key results to be achieved. So the key result is like implement X or deploy Y or build a feature XYZ. Have you seen this?
Yes. Earlier, when I was going to talk, you asked me the one biggest thing. I was going to say two because of this. They depend on the level. On the higher executive level, the biggest mistakes use the same framework and think it is the same thing on the strategic and the tactical level. And then on the team level, the biggest mistake I see is when they write KR. On the team level, as Fabio and you talked about, you have the objective that I'm going to assume it is aligned with the strategic direction of the higher level organization. Awesome. Then they got to define the key results. How do we know we're getting there? And this is the question. How do we know we are getting there? Not to tell me what you think are the good work, action items, backlog items, or initiatives to get there. That's not KR. Those are things you believe that by work on those, you achieve the results, but there's no guarantee. OKR is key results. How do you know you're getting there? This way, the team has flexibility and responsibility to get there. The backlog item is awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you are working 8 hours a day. But if you don't get to the key results, you don't get to the key results. You know, I'm not saying that backlog items or action plans are not important. They are super important, but they don't guarantee key results, and that's the biggest mistake. The teams, especially if there's pressure on the environment, even worse if they're measured by the KR, they're gonna put the KRs as tasks because then they're like, cool, I did all the work. So that for me is that's another huge pain point on OKR.
I would say that there is an exception, or maybe, and you can disagree with me, but I've been in the places where a single team needed to deliver a project from zero and just launch something. In those cases, I usually just put that as the objective. Okay, launch XYZ. And what's the key result? Oh, the key result is that it didn't exist and now it does. That's pretty much it. It was a binary key result,
Yeah,
but that I use only for new products. How would you approach that?
I I would challenge the team. I know it's hard because you want the period for the OKR to be short, let's say 3 months. And then perhaps that thing you're building might take 3 months. And then how do you get result at the same time you have the launch? That's where the conversation goes from OKR to MVP. It's like, team, figure it out. You know, we want to look key results, not only I launch, I did launch, I deliver, I didn't deliver. And then you push the team in that direction. That might change the launch plan. Instead of launching the whole thing, they figure out a way. Maybe they mix discovery and delivery because with discovery activities, they might be able to figure out things that might show they're going in a good direction, even though it's not built yet. And that's the point, you know. So you're showing some maybe discovery results, which not definitely not financial stuff, but it is results. You know, it's
So
not delivery.
maybe you would put like a traffic goal, something like that.
Something that shows you're going in a good direction, even before delivering the real thing. So you push this responsibility to the team, like show me results. You know, delivery, it's awesome, it's important. If you get everything right, and I'm going to use the word lucky. By luck, your product's a great success, everything will be perfect. But if you're like the 90% of people that think they had an amazing idea, a great product, and when they put in the hands of the users, the world has changed, it's not amazing, prove me something before spending all the time and money, you know. But I don't have the answers. Like push the team and ask what is the key result. It's not delivery, that's for sure.
And if you need to put delivery there somewhere, that's okay, but should be like the minimal part of your OKRs. Like the majority of them should be numbers. You can have like one or two that may be more project or task oriented, but you need to know that as soon as you deliver, you're gonna need to measure that in another way. You're gonna need to measure what was the outcome that you expected from this
Yes.
delivery, and then this will become your OKR on the next quarter.
But Shaka, for me, that's the danger. I wouldn't use the word as soon as you deliver. I would use the word at the same time you're delivering, you gotta see the outcome. Because when you put as soon as you deliver, what happens is, okay, in this quarter, we have this OKR that's only about delivery, and then the other quarter is to figure out stuff. And then you already spent the money already in debt before
And
you're
and, and,
able.
and and even more, if you are able to leave the QR, the outcome QR there, maybe the team will be able to figure out another way. Maybe that big delivery is not the main thing to be delivered. Maybe they find a shortcut. Maybe
Yeah,
they create a project on Lovable. I don't know, but
exactly.
they
Call
are
it
able.
MVP,
Yeah,
prototype, call it whatever you want, but figure out a
exactly.
way to
Yeah.
prove you're going in a good direction.
They,
I
they,
call
they
this
become
MVP, but
creative. Yeah, yeah, exactly. They
Joca,
kind of.
I'm glad you touched this point. Like, you probably didn't read my whole book, but I have a really hard time when talk about KR because for me, KR should be about outcome. Okay, for you
Yeah.
as well, I know that.
Oh no,
And
it's reverse. Sorry, but I had the book here.
the team, great, thank you, Fabio. So, but when I was writing the book, I talked to a lot of organizations, and almost 100% of them would have KRs that are not outcome or output. And I was like, do I write the book in theory, what I think is right, or do I write for the people nowadays? And then I decided to accept, and I call there are three types of KR. Outcome KR, which is the one we agree and people should go for. Output KR, because that's the reality in the ground. A lot of KRs, like Fabio said, is deliver output. And complementary KRs that are needed to reach the outcome. But the thing is, if you put one outcome KR, it cannot be by itself. You always have to have an outcome KR next to it. Otherwise, it's that's the danger of
Yeah.
having a
Yeah,
backlog plan
output
disguised as
only
OKR.
is quite dangerous. Quite dangerous. Totally agree.
But the thing, well, I'll tell this here, but I know that in 5 years down the line, people are going to get my book like, oh, look how horrible. He's saying we should have output KR, which is, I personally don't use output KR. I put this on the backlog. I let it live somewhere else. But
Yeah.
great majority of organizations and tools, they put those things together. So I
Yeah.
just accepted.
Normally, what I try to explain to my clients is that the OKR level is for outcome, and we are focused on generating results. And below that, we have all the initiatives, the projects, the deliveries, the MVPs, the proof of concepts that
Exactly.
will enable us to reach the outcomes that we are after. That's how I try to picture to the clients.
I agree with you, but I won't tell the names. This weekend, Five was with me. We were in a large conference, and then there are those tools. And the tools nowadays, even there was attacking OKR, they do like a tree.
Mhm.
And then because of the tool, you want to see completeness of the project. They end up guiding people in this direction of making the KRs their projects or deliveries. You know. I'm very unhappy with the tools nowadays. I understand because if you have a tool, it's for the world today, and the world today is project oriented, delivery oriented. So it's nice to have a tool, so it's a uniform tool for the whole organization. But the tool nowadays take people in the direction of treating KR as their projects and backlog items.
Yeah, that's sad. That's really sad.
Yeah,
That's why I always advise people to use Google Sheets or Excel because this is the best tool to to manage OKRs.
Yeah, here's the thing
But
too. It's important to emphasize that delivering a project it's not success at all. Like we can deliver projects, and even if some of the people that are listening to us they're thinking, oh, but my team's not delivering. Yeah, that's not really the problem with the world right now. Maybe it's the problem in your company, but the the methodologies, the techniques for delivery, they're now 50 years old or more. Actually, if you get when Agile was born in Japan, we're talking almost 100 years now, give or take. And yeah, we know how to deliver projects, as beings and workers. The problem since the internet came and changed everything, changed the environment, changed the customer behavior. The problem is knowing what to build and what to deliver. So that's why people started talking about product, and that's why product is not the same thing as project because it is a new mentality, is a new mindset that should clash with delivery. Product is not worried about delivering because we already understood that delivering is the easy part. Regardless of your own particular work environment, it is very, very possible to deliver any kind of technology that you can think of. That's not where the obstacle is. The obstacle is will the users engage with your solution or not? And that's more and more complicated. It's not getting any simpler, as the decades are passing by. So that's why we should always emphasize measuring the outcome of whatever we're delivering, because there's no way for us to do a very good thing and deliver something good if we're not capable of delivering something, measuring, learning with whatever the outcome was, making it better and delivering something better, and keep doing that until it's perfect, or maybe it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to be updating and upgrading that. And I know that sounds obvious, but you will never know who needs to hear that out there. So that's my message.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Hey, another um, weird misconception that I've seen in very a team that is new to OKRs is when the person says something like, "Oh, if it's not in my OKRs, I will not do it."
Now
Have you
everything
seen
is
this?
OKR. Well,
Have any of you seen this?
yes, yes. In fact, the last 2 months I was helping a large organization. It's not Brazilian; it's an international organization that's also very big in Brazil, and I was helping them. They've been doing OKRs for 5 years now, and they called me for help this year because things are getting off. Well, they had a bad year, but things were getting off track anyway. And they had exactly this problem. Last year, I don't know, they have like 50 OKRs. Everything had an OKR, and the employees would tell this: if it's not on my OKR, I'm not doing. And then things, they start losing the value or the things they had to do. OKR is not for everything. Point. There's a lot of work we do. It's the work you do. It's your business as usual. It's important stuff. You do not everything needs an OKR. You know, an OKR is when there is very clear like one objective and some key results, some ways for you to show you're changing something, and of course before that there's a team for it. Then that team writes an OKR. You know, we we there's a misconception about, okay, let's measure important things, and then all the important things, all the KPIs become key results. Not needed. In fact, if you have a key result this year to improve some metric, great, you improved it. That's not an OKR for next year. Maybe you keep a KPI in some dashboard to keep an eye on it, but that's it. You know, you move forward. The OKR is about focus on what you're improving or what you're measuring right now. And when you talk about focus, you gotta focus on few things. So do not use OKR for everything. Even if you get in love with OKR, which is the case with some people, great. That, don't do OKR at home, OKR for the kids, OKR for everything in the organization. No, please.
But in any case, well, I do use OKRs for prioritizing my backlog, right? So it's not about not doing, but I would say that I like my PMs to always organize priorities, taking a look at what's going to impact the OKR the most, and then they put it up front on the queue. Do you think that's a good practice?
Now, prioritize work, definitely yes. But of course, but I'm coming from a very large organization, right? That's the danger of when you try to make a practice uniform on the overall organization. That's where I'm going. Smaller organizations, great. It's a common. You want people to be very clear about the objectives and prioritize their work. That's a given. Like at home with my kids, yeah, I want them to prioritize the tasks. I'm just saying, large organizations, be careful not to mandate OKR in everybody. There are other tools and other ways to prioritize stuff, for example. In fact, OKR doesn't talk about prioritization, right? They help you with the focus, but to decide what goes in the OKRs or what initiatives your team's gonna do to achieve that key result, that you gotta prioritize.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point. OKRs is not for prioritization. I like to say that OKRs, they are good to put a light on topics that you believe are strategic for you to reach an end goal. So that's the use of OKR. That's what I normally tell people. It's a light. You put a spotlight, a very strong spotlight on certain issues that are not working well, or some objectives that you want to reach. And what is BAU or business as usual doesn't need to go inside
Exactly.
the OKRs. Yeah,
Yeah. For me, it's visibility and focus.
yeah,
You
exactly.
gotta
To
focus on
bring
a few things, otherwise you're not focusing on anything, and make it visible. Fabio, show the book cover again. That's why the designer chose that little lantern that's like, okay,
It's going
focus.
to be
It's
reversed,
this.
so we need
It's like a lantern, like.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, what's
exactly.
the word in English, Fabio? In Portuguese is lampião. OKR is not a lampião, the one that puts lights all over the place. No, that's
Yeah.
not OKR.
yeah,
What's
It's a
the
lamp.
word in
flashlight.
English?
A
Lamp,
flashlight,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah, OKR is a flashlight, but how is lampião in English? You
lamp,
know when you
lamp.
go camping, that thing that gives light all over the place?
Yeah, it's a gas lamp.
A gas lamp. OKR is not a gas lamp. OKR is a flashlight, very focused, only a few things you're looking at. It's not a gas lamp.
And there is another thing that I normally tell to people that normally say, what is not in my OKRs, I will not do, is that when you say this, you are putting yourself as a servant to the OKR. You mean the OKR owns you
Yeah.
and dictates. It's the other way around. The OKRs are here to serve us.
Yes.
So if there is something new that appears, you discover something that may help you get to the objective faster, but it's not in your OKR, it may make sense to take a look on it, right? It's something that could be useful. So it's the other way around. When we say that what is it is not in our OKR, I will not do it. We are putting ourselves in a position as a servant to the OKR. When it's the other way around, the OKRs are our servant. They serve us to reach our goals, to reach our objectives, to fulfill our purpose. So that's how I see it.
But Joca, there's one thing that maybe the organizations where that happens, people will say, if it's not in my OKR, so I'm not doing it. Maybe it's the result of another problem, which is attaching OKRs to bonuses and the money incentives at the end of the year. What do you
And he
think?
throws the grenade. Boom. Now we get in
Yeah,
trouble.
maybe. Come on, I'm being polite here.
No, no, no. Well, yeah. It's a sensitive topic because, man, it's hard. I'm sure Joca passed through the same thing. I'm calling some organizations through the HR department. They like OKR and they need the tool to attach to the bonus. And sometimes, Caroli, come help us improve OKR, and you get there. There is this attachment, and you're like, okay, we got to talk about something important here. It,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is a bad idea to attach OKR to the bonus. That's for sure.
Like,
It is. And the reason is very, very simple. Back to one of the very first misconceptions. The ones responsible to set OKRs are the team. So the team set OKRs. But when the OKRs is attached to a bonus, the team will not be aggressive enough, will not be
Of course. Yeah.
bold enough. They will protect their bonus, right? So,
you're
and then you're going to
literally
have endless discussions between HR, the leadership, and the team. You should push more. No, but this is what we'll be able to achieve. And then a lot of discussions that doesn't make sense because if the OKR is set by the team, and the bonus should set by the leadership. So these are two separate things.
This is such a complicated topic because one quick solution for this is like, don't let the team set the OKR.
Yeah,
Solve
yeah,
that problem.
yeah,
you know, which a lot of organizations do. I'm like, don't go this route.
yeah,
The bonus got to be attached for KPIs, especially financial KPIs. Those are the numbers. You cannot give bonus if there is no revenue at the end of the year. So bonus attached to KPI, and that's an important number to pursue. But KPI is not key result. You might even have important KPIs on the strategic level. And if you're going to give bonus, give on the very high level of the organization. But for the teams, key results bonus are not attached to it. Simple as that.
and even more KPI uh, related to bonus like revenue, margins, EBITDA, all of that, cost. They should set the strategic context in order to define your OKRs. So you define your OKRs based on those objectives, but they are never part of our OKRs. That's the main thing.
But I'll be totally honest. That's hard, especially when you go to the commercial team, because the commercial team they are used that everything they do and they pursue directly affect their bonuses.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you go
Their
there and
commission.
change the OKR. It's like it, it, it's a difficult one. I want to tell you guys that it's a easy topic. It is a difficult one,
I,
but
I, I normally don't like to recommend OKRs to sales teams because they already have all
they
the
already have
way they
their
operate
tools.
with their commissions and their targets and all of that. They even do a weekly follow-ups every Monday. How is the pipeline and
Yeah,
everything? They already
but
have a system
but
that works.
do,
So
do you know the? I went through this like 2 weeks ago. Do you know the challenge in the organization where commercial brings 90% of the revenue, right? Very aggressive. There are two parts of the commercial team. One is the business as usual. That one is not for OKR. But another are, okay, given the shift in the world and my competition and the market with AI and all those things, what are the things I should change in my commercial team? Those is
yeah,
a good fit
yeah.
for OKR. And then you have on that same very large organization, very strategic commercial. Then you have under that same team, part of it that's KPI that we need to guarantee the lunch tomorrow.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, not OKR there. And part of that are like we need to guarantee our survival. We need to think about what our objectives given the current market. And then OKR is gonna live very side by side with KPIs that have the normal commercial bonus attachment, all of these. So things can get complicated.
Yeah, yeah. I understand.
I just want to submit something a little bit disruptive here, but it's something that I've been thinking about these last years. I've worked in a bunch of B2B companies, and they would say something that you Caroli just said that 90% of the revenue is being brought by sales. And working as a product person, I would say not true at all. Sales just closes the deal, but it's the product is selling 100% of the revenue, and there is a lot of people involved in that sales. So I would I would submit that that model should change as well. The world is not dependent on sales as it used to be, and I'm not saying that the sales guy is not important. I'm just saying that he's one of the pieces of the puzzle, and
Yeah.
just saying that not because I'm jealous of or anything, but because I've been seeing like repeatedly commission to sales disrupt the political environment of the company. Too much power goes to the sales guys, and they end up turning every product company into a software factory if you let them, because you're literally incentivizing that, right? They want to sell. They have huge commissions. Maybe we're talking in some companies that I've been in. We're talking like six figures, sometimes even seven figures a year. Those guys are not gonna accept a no from the product team or from other stakeholders. They will use everything they can to push a sales through, even if they're selling something that the company cannot deliver, which I've seen time and again.
Yeah.
And because you're paying people to not care about that, they just want to close the deal. So thinking about that, I saw some companies that started not commissioning sales anymore. It works a lot better, but I know it's really disruptive, and some sales professionals are not used to that. They wouldn't accept it. So I don't know if you guys. I know it's a little bit of a tangent our
Yeah. No, 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 no.
in our topic, but I
Yeah.
feel that's pretty cool to talk about this.
No, I need to give a disclaimer, right? Because usually I'm talking about digital product, but in the past month I was
Oh,
in an organization that's not about digital product.
there you
I'm
go.
not talking about sales related to our digital world. Then I just realized I'm like, oh, I'm talking about, and that's difficult in our area, right? Because product, like some people listen digital product, or some people listen very physical product. In fact, like since I released the book, I have been invited for a lot of organizations that were not digital product. That's why I not changed the mind. I accepted. Oh, the world's a little different there. But I totally agree with you, Fabio. When it's digital product, forget the traditional sales thing. Like the product gotta sell itself. So sales is part of the team. But physical product, like real stuff that uh, it's not a short delivery cycle. It's different.
No, definitely, my world is the digital
The
product
digital, yeah.
world.
Yeah, no, it used to be my world, and now transition between both worlds. Since, well, in fact, that's an important disclaimer because we're talking about OKR. And I think the three of us, they come from the digital world, right? Sometimes we go in non-digital as well. OKR is very useful for non-digital, but we always have to adjust the framework and the tool for the reality of the organization.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I used OKRs at Lopez. Lopez is a real estate company. They just use digital to make the experience better for the buyer, the seller, the broker. But their main business was not selling a digital product. Their main business was to sell or to facilitate buying and selling houses. So yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
understand. I
actually,
understand what you're
OKRs were
saying.
not invented in the digital world, right? They were invented in the industry, and the digital world kind of co-opted it.
I even heard that Bonovox from U2 uses it in an NGO that he's part of. He uses OKR. So, yeah. One other topic, maybe to close because we are already 35 minutes of conversation. That's a lot. OKR gives a lot of topic for us to talk. But one common misconception that I also see is OKR set by function. So product managers have one OKRs, product designers has another one, product engineers has another one, and the product data people they have another one. So what's your take on that?
I have a good story about that. You know, I've been in a company. Another disclaimer: each one of us has have been in several companies. So you know, please don't try to identify the companies looking at our LinkedIn. But Joca has been maybe a little less companies as an employee before he became a consultant. I've been in more than 10, so you know I'm at liberty to kind of gossip a little bit. So I've been in a company where engineering was really really hostile. The backlog was discussed like in every single detail, and sometimes engineering would push back with no fear at all, just saying we're not gonna do this. And I would be as a product manager in that organization. I'll be in that weird situation where like, oh, my role is defining what the company should deliver, and engineering just you know flat out saying no. Well, how can I do my job then? I'm not their leader, right? So I talked to the engineering leader about this, like how can we you know reconcile a little bit the interest, and and uh, and after talking to leadership, I realized that we were not even speaking about the same objectives. You know, I could see that they saw their work in a very very different way than what I just described. Like, oh, product is defining where the market is, so we should build this and this and this, and then engineering and all delivers that. Like they were not thinking about that at all. They would see themselves as something different. So they are using OKRs there, and they use one of those applications that Caroli just described. You know, there was a tree of OKRs, and I was following the OKRs from the developers all the way to the CTO. And the CTO and everything was public, right? Like OKRs should be, you know, so you can see like everybody's OKRs. And the CTO he had the following OKRs: be the company with the best quality code in the world, whatever the hell that means, right? And give speeches in at least 3 world conferences, and that's it. And I would even say like first, you know, you're C level, my guy. Like this is not even strategic. Like what the hell, you know? You should do better. But in any case, and if you follow from the CTO to the other levels of leadership, and I'm talking, if I'm not mistaken, 3 levels here, it was random pretty much. You know, people would just like try to translate code quality in different ways, and to finish the story, what happened with engineering is that they had every incentive to be very conservative and just say no to everything because they were protecting the code quality, not delivery. They didn't care, you know, about delivery at all because the CTO didn't care about that.
Yeah,
At
if
least the
quality is
CTO was
mandatory.
manifesting that he didn't care about that, right? Maybe he didn't feel this way, but if you check the OKR as well, he doesn't care. So I
But they
realized
achieved
that
their OKR.
no, the code was
Yeah, the
shit.
code quality. Ah, no, come on. At least the code had that to be good quality.
No,
If
it
nothing
was
was
pretty bad.
deployed,
Huh?
I mean, if nothing was deployed, the
Yeah,
code should
there you go.
be
High
in a
quality,
good
zero
quality. Yeah.
bugs.
No, they were constantly complaining, as you know, in every company. Like, oh, we need to refactor, we need to refactor. They were always miserable, just like every company. So, like, okay, it's not even working, right? So, and that's just an illustration, because I had, problems like similar to those, but not as harsh in every company that would separate by area, because you need the areas to cooperate. If you give different OKRs to each area, they will not cooperate.
Yeah. It's that simple. It's that simple.
You got,
We- we-
yeah, go ahead, Joca.
No, I want to say that you only have a team if they have a common objective. You cannot call a group of people as a team if they don't have a common objective. It's that simple. If you have an objective for product managers, another one for product designers, and a third one for engineers, you don't have a team. You have just a group of people that went out to lunch together when they are collocated. They sit together when they are in the office, but each one is working on their own objectives.
But the challenge is the translation between the strategic OKRs to the tactical OKR. With all the good willing, management team define the strategic OKR and hand it off to their areas and teams. And that handoff is not well done. So what happens is they go from objective, they define what they want and give to the teams. And then if the organization is split this way, product managers, engineers here, that's what they're going to do, create OKRs by function. If the other way around, first you identify who is the team that's going to handle this objective. And then a handful of people is going to put their hand, and many times it is a multifunction team. And then that team defines their tactical OKR. That order is perfect. Strategic direction first. Who is going to handle it? That's what you just defined. A team is a group of people for a common objective. That team defines their team OKR or tactical OKR. Perfect. The challenge is that usually that's not the case. We go from strategic OKR to define tactical OKRs and then hand it off to people. If it is a perfect match that by coincidence one of those tactical OKRs fit a team that's already organized as a streamlined team, amazing. But if you don't have that coincidence, which is 80% of the case, you're going to have challenge.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And with that, I believe we've covered a lot of misconceptions, right? So maybe it's time to close this episode and invite everyone to follow us, to send topics, send questions. And in the next episode, we're going to figure out a new interesting topic for us to talk about. So see you in the next episode.
Bye.
See you.